Hi, today I'm going to answer a question that was on the forum. So the question was, x squared minus 8xy plus 12y squared, and how do you factor it? So first I'm going to go through something from the book. So this is a really nice table on how to factor, like how to figure out the strategies to factor each thing. So first step is to factor out the greatest common factor, but as we can see, x squared, negative xy, and 12y squared don't have any common factors, so we can't factor anything out. And then we identify whether the polynomial has 2 terms, 3 terms, or more than 3 terms. Well, the polynomial does not have more than 3 terms, it has exactly 3 terms, so we're going to skip to step 4. So it says if the polynomial has 3 terms, check first for perfect square trinomial. Now this is not a perfect square trinomial, because then the first term and the last term would have to be perfect squares, and the second term would have to be 2 times the square root of both the first term and the last term, but, like multiplied together. But the last term is not a perfect square because 12 isn't a perfect square. So it's not a perfect square trinomial. So it says otherwise, factor the trinomial with the trial and error method or the AC method. So what we're going to do is we're going to just trial and error. So what we want is the last term has to be the multiplication of the 2 terms in our binomial, and the middle term has to be the addition of them. So we want to find, x and x, because that will create x squared, and you know that both of these terms will have a y in them, because y times y is going to give us that y squared, but there's also a 12 attached to the y squared. So we want to see what terms multiply to make 12. So there's 12 and 1, there's 6 and 2, and there's 3 and 4. And then you also want to know what would add to negative 8xy. Well, the x and y's are already covered because each term will have x and y in them, each of the middle terms. So we want to see what adds up to negative 8. So if we made this 12 has to be positive, so we can either use positive positive or negative negative. Since this term is negative, we're going to have negative negative. And which of these 2 terms adds to 8? 3 and 4 does not work, so we're not going to use that. 12 and 1 does not work, but 6 and 2 does work, because negative 6 plus negative 2 is negative 8. So we'd have negative 6 and negative 2. And now let's check. Let's check to see if we are right. So what I'm going to do is FOIL. So x times x is x squared. X times 2y, or times negative 2y, is negative 2xy. Negative 6y times an x is a negative 6xy. And negative 6 times a negative 2y is a positive 12y squared. Now add like terms. So these are the only 2 like terms, so that's negative 8xy. And we still have the x squared here, and we have a plus 12y squared here. And that gets us back to our answer.